Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Today is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. These are our every other Tuesday talks that we have with various people on either the franchise development team or executives, really just helpful informative videos that you guys can learn more about the Right at Home franchise opportunity, the support we provide, and for this specific interview today to talk a little bit about the education and approval process with Right at Home. So a couple of housekeeping items first before we get started and visiting with Jessica and Chuck here in just a moment. Q&A button, it's at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you click on that button, you can type a question. There's a little box that you can click that says anonymous. So don't be shy. Go ahead and ask the question. You can click that anonymous box. We won't know who's asking the question, but we love our audience participation. So please make sure to type a question as the three of us are visiting over the course of the next 30 minutes. In the event that you have a question, I will make sure that I get it asked of Jessica or Chuck. Okay. So without further ado, my name is Jen Chaney. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development for Right at Home. Chuck, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Super. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to view this, whether it's in the future or you're with us today. My name is Chuck Prentner. I may be talking to some of you right now in that evaluation process. A little bit about me. I have been in franchise development 35 years. I'm dating myself. And I guess you would say why I'm here right at home, and I'm on my 5th year now. Maybe as you get older, you kind of want to be building that legacy. And I want to do something I truly believe in. And I know when I can work with people that become part of the Right at Home family, it's going to make a difference in so many folks' lives out there. Not only the clients, but the families, the caregivers. It's a feel good for me, and I know will be for you too.
Perfect. Thank you, Chuck. How about you, Jessica?
Yeah, so my name is Jessica Cornelius. I'm one of the development directors. Absolutely love Right at Home. I feel like it is something that so many people need. I mean, I was at my dentist office this morning and he was like, tell me all about where you work. And I never want to go into a nursing home. And he's like, well, I'm not that old yet, but and everybody knows at some point in their life, that they either have experienced it with people that they love. And the dental hygienist was saying, oh my gosh, like this is what we had for my dad and how much difference it made, and just how happy he was and how much he looked forward, to those visits and how much of the stress it took off of the family members, having somebody come in and help with like bathing. And I know that the reason why I was attracted here was because of my own personal experience with my grandmother. And I think everybody on this team and everybody at this organization has something that's impacted their life and some reason that really motivates them to find the best owners and really just make this brand even more amazing than it already is, because it is a business with a purpose, and what we do, it really is impacting lives and it does matter.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So for this specific call, I really want to focus on the process that people go through in order to ultimately get to a discovery day and become a part of the Right at Home family. We have lots of other 30-minute interviews, tons of stuff in our resource library for people watching this on a recorded basis to learn about the support and the business model and all those other things. So I really want to dive deep into the process that the two of you take prospects through, something that I am very proud of and something that I hear wonderful things about as compared to potentially other franchises that people may be exploring purchasing. We do have a really wonderful process. It's very organized. It's very structured, similar to what your life is going to be like as a Right at Home franchise owner in the event that you become a franchise owner. So let's start at the very beginning. I'll start with you, Chuck. Okay, let's pretend somebody inquires about Right at Home franchise ownership. What's the first thing that happens on their end?
Well, soon as someone is interested in Right at Home, and if they request information on our website or one of the other various portals out there, they're going to get a text message from me with the opportunity to schedule into my calendar. They're also going to get an email from me. And if it's someone that Jessica's working with, it'll be the exact same. They'll get a text, they'll get an email, and then typically we try and call them that very same day, just to schedule an initial 20-minute conversation, just kind of set the table on what it is they're looking for, family member involvement, just build those expectations on what is going to be happening for the next 35 to 45 days.
Okay. And one thing that I do want to note, I'm pretty sure in both that text message and that email, they receive a link so that they can click on it and they can self-schedule, which makes it super convenient. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's just pretend I've inquired about Right at Home. I schedule an appointment with you, Jessica. Then what happens when we actually talk on the phone?
Yeah, so really like the purpose of our initial call, it's just ask you some questions, really, figure out, hey, what is it you're looking for? Why are you looking for a franchise system? Why is this important to you? How is your family going to be involved? What do you want for the business on a long-term basis? Really all of those really top high level questions. And then we talk about, what the process looks like, answer any questions that you have, and really just determine, hey, does it even make sense to set up a future call to start really getting into a lot more detail?
Yeah. Okay. So a question came in. It says, what documents do I need to have when I talk with you? So on that initial phone call, you don't need to have anything prepared if your initial phone call. Later on, there are some things that we will request from you, but we will eventually get to that. But that initial phone call, no, there isn't anything that you need to come prepared with as far as any specific documents.
One thing I'll add to that, in the initial call, we always like to set that expectation that it is a shared evaluation process. The prospective franchisee is going to be looking at Right at Home, and there's a lot of education that goes into that because it's really a virtual business. A lot of people do not know what home care is. There is no brick and mortar storefront. So it's what exactly do you do? So, we build that expectation. We're going to educate you on that. But on the same note, we're going to be evaluating the prospective franchisee. It's not a sales process whatsoever. You can't sell a home care business. If someone wants to do it, they will do it. So it's our obligation simply to share that common goal that we both need to find this out, and we're evaluating each other. But also at the end of that call, Jen, if it's a good conversation, we're going to send them an email with a link to our personal profile. And this is where it maybe gets into that person's question, what documentation do they need? Well, this is where it starts to happen. And again, when we send that personal profile, someone can complete it in 5 minutes. I tell them take 45. We need to know about you. It's going to be almost like a job interview. It's not just us telling you about this. We need to find out as well. So that is a big piece. And also with that touch point with the personal profile, Jen, again, they have the opportunity to schedule in an hour on our calendars to review that personal profile.
There you go. Okay. So that initial phone call, it's just general questions, answers, may take 5 minutes, may take 20 minutes, really just getting to know each other just a little bit. You get the personal profile after you hang up with Chuck or Jessica. You complete that personal profile. It does dive in just a little bit deeper. So a little bit about you, your education, work history, a little bit of a financial snapshot, very simple questions, no curveballs, and nothing like that. But Chuck is right. It's as soon as you complete it, you're going to receive a link that says, hey, click here to schedule time with Chuck or Jessica to review your personal profile. So then that's scheduled. You guys get on the calls. So Jessica, let's say that I've just scheduled my personal profile review phone call with you. What happens on that call?
Yeah, so we'll just go through the information that you provided. I mean, as far as, as far as what your plan is for the operations of the business, are you going to have a business partner? Is your spouse going to be involved? It talks about, past jobs, just to really allow us to start to get more of an understanding of your personality, and really just start to determine, hey, is this a business that you would be satisfied in? We always like to tell people, it's not the right business for everyone. Business ownership, it's a lot of work. But for the right person, there is nothing like this out there, no better business out there. We want to make sure at the end of the day that this is a good fit for everyone because it's a partnership. Our success is super interconnected. And like Chuck had already shared, we're not selling you anything. We're educating you, giving you the information, and really, just deciding, hey, does this make sense for us? Do we feel like you'd be a good partner in our system? And, do we make sense for you and your family? We'll talk about, some financial questions, how are you planning on funding the business? Do you meet our requirements? I mean, we are an owner operated model. So are you going to be able to give it a full-time focus? And be fully invested in the business? Do you meet our liquid net worth requirement of 150,000? Yep. As far as the legal questions, do you meet all of our requirements for that? And then from that point, if everything makes sense, we'll set up that next call, and that's a 90-minute webinar where we go through the business overview.
Okay, perfect. And then wanted to make, you said a couple of things here. So the personal profile does include, are you going to have any business partners working with you? Is your spouse going to be involved? This is an owner operator model. Chuck, can you comment a little bit about how important it is, even if you're married and if your spouse is or is not going to be involved in the business, how important it is to potentially have the spouse participate in some of these future conversations, even if they won't operationally be involved in the business. Can you touch on that for just a moment?
I think that is critical for a couple different reasons. I think if someone's going through this process, they need to have their spouse or their partner, whatever it may be, to be educated as well.
Yeah.
Because they need to have a sounding board. They need to have that person with a background that understands this business to a certain degree, that they get through this process so they can ask those questions and share conversations from a position of knowledge. But also it's critical because our franchise disclosure document, when they get to the point of actually signing franchise agreements, the spouse needs to be on that, on certain exhibits of it. So it's not the type of business where someone can buy it themselves and say, my spouse is going to have absolutely nothing to do with it. Legally and contractually, the spouse does. So I always try and set that expectation at the very beginning. I always try and get the spouse involved. If we have a pushback in a situation like that, it's not necessarily a good situation. We need everyone that is a decision maker, that has a voice in the final outcome, to be involved.
That's
and
right.
I need to have conversations with them, not them just listening. I need to talk to them too.
That's right. Yep. Okay. So not necessarily the personal profile phone call, but future phone calls. Jessica mentioned that the next step is the business overview phone call. So Chuck, can you talk about what happens on that business overview phone call?
And I'll go back to the personal profile, because this is where we ask a lot of questions. And I always let them know that this is where we find out about you. The business overview is where we pull back the green curtain. This is where you find out all about right at home. And it's really at minimum 90 minutes. Some of them go 2 hours, 2+ hours, where we get into big detail on the history of right at home, this industry, what it is we do, how we get clients and caregivers, what are the layers of support, what are our pillars of knowledge, everything that we're able to offer to a franchisee. This is where they really find that out. And I want to make sure that the spouse is involved in that. We always email them a copy of the presentation where we're done. But this is really when the prospective franchisee has an opportunity to find out about right at home. Because I talked before, it's a virtual business. There's a lot of people that have no idea what it is. I'd mentioned I had been in development for 35 years. I was not aware of home care till about 5 years ago. All of my conversations with my friends and family, it was looking backwards to our kids. But then when your kids go off to school, the conversation, it's like flipping a switch. It all goes to, hey, how are you taking care of your parents? This type of thing. I didn't even know there was this industry. So it's important to spend that time really to educate people because they have no idea how many clients, how many caregivers, what's a territory, all of these types of things. So we go into that, I think, in great detail.
Yes, it's awesome. And if I can see here, and perhaps I think that Chuck already mentioned this, it says here, do you ever send the business overview presentation before the call? Yes.
Some people do. I personally don't. I think Jessica does sometimes.
I do.
I want it to be a show and a surprise. I want them to be excited about it. That's just my personal take. Some people like to look around the corner.
Yep.
I don't know. I like to put on the show.
Okay. So I suppose if you request it, we will send, Chuck will send it to you, but he's not just going to send it to you without requesting it. Sounds like Jessica just sends it, which either way, we're open to sending that to you in advance of the business overview in the event that you want it. And whoever has asked this other question on the question board here, I'm going to hold off before I answer that question because we will eventually get to that and I will address your question. Okay, so business overview, that call has just been completed. What happens, Jessica, at the end of the business overview phone call, kind of to prep them for the next phone call? And what is that next phone call?
So our next phone call is our franchise disclosure document review. So it is set up on the same platform that we use for our business overview. So it's called ClearSlide. Basically, you just click a link and you're in. So it works kind of like Zoom, but you're going to be able to see our slides as well as we go through the information. So we'll do it the same way. Every single franchise disclosure document has 23 items in there. We don't just send it to you and say, hey, read it. Let me know if you have any questions. We actually go through all that together because it's really important for us to make sure that you have a good understanding of that document in order to make an informed business decision and a decision that makes sense for you and your family. After we go through that, we will do our validation prep. It's just getting you ready to talk to owners. We give you an entire directory of every single owner in our system. You can pick and choose and call whoever you want. We just have a requirement that you talk to 3 owners. If you want to talk to 10, you're welcome to talk to 10. We don't direct you to who to talk to. We say, you know what, try to catch somebody on a bad day. We want you to go into this knowing, hey, business ownership, it takes work. But like I said before, there's nothing better, than this type of industry for the right person. So we want you to know that stuff. We want you to make an informed decision. And 2, we want to set realistic expectations because we want to bring the right people into our system, which is one of the things that's contributed, to all of our success and so many of our owners being in our system for so long. Owners passing this business on to their kids. It's all because of those little steps that we take to make sure that we are finding the right people to bring in, not just trying to paint everything like rainbows and butterflies and having somebody think, hey, you can just sit on your couch. You don't have to recruit caregivers. You don't have to work the business. We want to make sure it's the right people and that it's the right fit because that's going to contribute to all of our success.
Okay.
I want to take a quick step back, in that initial call, and we build that expectation of what this process looks like. There's really 6 big steps. There's a lot of little steps in between, but the 6 big ones that I see, the initial call, then we have the personal profile review, then we have the business overview, then we have the FDD review, then they go into validation, and then at that stage, a lot of their homework's already done. They're going to have something which is called an invite call with Jen Chaney. And I've always built the expectation that they need to be approved for this. And if they're invited to Discovery Day, then they're at Discovery Day. But there's those big chunks that I think it's really important that people remember. They're moving down a process and there's a end in that process. It's just not, let's look. It leads you somewhere, and approval is a really big piece of that. They need to approve us. We need to approve them.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to back up just a little bit from there. So Jessica, you did a fantastic job recapping FDD review, validation prep. I want to touch a little bit more on the validation prep and actual franchisee validation phone calls. So the FDD review, Chuck and Jessica do a fantastic job going through all 23 items of the FDD and really explaining that in details just to make sure that you guys really do understand it. It's a big, thick legal document. So just a really simple way of explaining the franchise disclosure document. But the validation prep part means they're going to give you some recommended questions to ask our franchise owners instead of, hey, just call 3 and, good luck, just think of some questions to ask. Definitely, you don't have to ask these questions that they send your way, but certainly it's a great starting place. Questions for you to ask our franchise owners. And to me, feedback that I have heard from people that go through this process is that franchisee validation is probably the most important and informative part of the education process with Right at Home. Because Chuck and Jessica are going to tell you all sorts of awesome things. They're going to educate you about the Right at Home business model, but you are going to learn so much from our franchise owners who are a day in the life. They're the ones working the business. And I can't remember if you mentioned this, Jessica, or not, but you may catch a franchise owner on a bad day. You may catch a franchise owner on a great day. You're going to hear some great things. You're going to hear some really challenging things. But at the end of the day, the consistent theme that you will hear is that they would do it all over again the exact same way. And they really do enjoy the support that they receive from the franchisor, their journey as being a franchisee, all of the processes, the procedures, the system we have, the support is top notch. So again, I just want to stress how important it is to really get into those franchisee validation calls, because it could be the most informative and helpful part of this whole process to you. Chuck, were you going to say something?
Well, keep in mind, any franchisee that you'll be calling has gone through the exact same process.
Yeah.
They were all in your shoes and they reached out. It's a little nervous at first, but you're going to find the typical call is about 20 minutes. I have had folks say they talked to a franchisee for an hour and a half after hours, because it's the passion type of thing.
Yeah.
And if you look at the common denominator of a lot of our franchisees, it's not so much their professional background, it's that passion they have to want to make a difference in people's lives. And people that share passion, like passion, they just want to talk. I think it's very, 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 very critical.
Yep. And Jessica mentioned this. So you're already going to have a copy of our franchise disclosure document. Part of that document is something called Exhibit G, and it's an entire list of all of our franchise owners. So it's their name, their phone number, their address, their franchise number is in there, but it's the full list of all of our franchise owners open and operating as of December 31st of the prior year. But we don't have a specific list that we send you where we have vetted these owners and said, okay, you're going to receive franchisee validation calls. You can pick anyone in Exhibit G that you would like to call. It's completely up to you. If there's a certain kind of franchise owner that you're looking for and you really can't get, if you want to talk to somebody who has been an owner for 15 plus years, you can certainly ask Chuck or Jessica, hey, can you give me a couple of names of franchise owners that have been in the system for more than a year? They can certainly send you some names, but we don't want you to just limit it to those 2 people that you call. We want you to call people outside of the list that they send your way in the event that you make a specific request. You guys want to add anything more to that?
I'll just simply say, as we've talked about these 6 big points and the conversations that we have, they all have specific topics, whether it's a business overview, the personal profile, FDD validation. We also have conversations regarding funding of the business and why that is so important. It's not you go to a discovery day and then you decide, how am I going to fund this? No, the expectation is within a week of attending discovery day, if you're approved, it's time to sign and fund. So we've always built that into our conversations. So there are sub-conversations, simply, how are you going to do this? 401k rollover. There's a lot of different things, not to get in the weeds, but it's also that expectation, again, that this process leads somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about the invitation to Discovery Day call, and then we'll talk about Discovery Day. So the invitation to Discovery Day call comes after you have completed at least 3 franchisee validation calls with our franchise owners. But the invite to Discovery Day call that you have with me, I do that with every single person that attends a Discovery Day. And I really do love these phone calls that I have with everyone before they come to Discovery Day. I generally ask the same questions of each person that does these invite calls with me, but really it's a way for me to get to know you before Discovery Day. Because at this point, the only person that you've spoken to here at Right at Home is either Chuck or Jessica. So I want to get to know you a little bit myself before you come to Discovery Day. Really want to make sure that you are ready for Discovery Day. We really don't want to invite anybody to Discovery Day if they aren't like, yes, I'm in, I'm so in. If you approve me, then I can't wait to become a franchise owner. If you're still on the fence and you have a lot of questions for me, there is a possibility I may say to you, well, why don't you go back to working with Chuck or Jessica? It sounds like you have a little bit more questions and some due diligence to do on your end to see if this is the right fit for you. There is potential that may happen. But either way, if the phone call goes well and everything is in sync, then I will invite you to Discovery Day, which our Discovery Days are all virtual. Generally, they start at around 9 a.m. Central Time, end at around 3 p.m. Central Time. We have these are group Discovery Days, so you may be in different Zoom rooms or Zoom meetings with other candidates interested in joining the Right at Home system. We like to schedule group meetings in the morning, and then the individual, more one-on-one meetings are scheduled in the afternoon. There is potential that you will receive a franchise agreement from Andy on our team. So we do like to send, in the event that you're interested in purchasing a brand new territory, becoming a brand new franchise owner, we do like to send you the franchise agreement before Discovery Day, just so you can see it and have it on hand. In the event that you are approved, then we can open it up for signatures and you can sign shortly thereafter Discovery Day. But don't be surprised, you may get something in advance. You don't have the ability to sign it. We don't even turn that on. It's really just for you to get it, to open it, to see it and review it, because the law does state that you have to have it for at least a week before you can sign anything. Chuck, Jessica, do you want to add more to that?
One thing I'll say is, if someone is able to have the conversation with you, the invite call, we feel pretty darn good about it. Because part of what Jessica and I do, we evaluate people. I mentioned that before, that shared process. I'm taking notes the whole time. We put together a large folder that we give Jen with our recommendations. And this process is designed to weed out people we don't think would be good franchisees. I would never want to schedule a invite call with Jen if I did not think we need these people, we want these people. It's the right match. So when someone has that scheduled call that we talk about, I feel good about it. That's my recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And like Chuck said, they put together this fantastic bio packet of information all about you. So I know a lot about you before the invitation to Discovery Day phone call. In the event that you're invited to Discovery Day, everybody that you're going to be meeting with on Discovery Day also receives that packet of information. So we do our research and we get really excited and really pumped up for Discovery Days. So anyway, after Discovery Day is complete, you're going to have a phone call with either Chuck or Jessica the Monday after Discovery Day, hopefully getting the news, congratulations, you've been approved for franchise ownership. So Jessica, what happens after that? If congrats, you've been approved, then what happens?
Yeah, so essentially, like, we always have our Discovery Days on a Friday. So then we'll have a follow-up call that following Monday. And really, we're going to have an answer for you. So, Chuck has, been engaging with you throughout the process. Jen has had a call, then Jen gets with the whole leadership team and really gets feedback from them as far as, hey, do we feel like these candidates are a good fit in our system? And then, the expectation is that, you, your spouse, your business partner will also have those conversations and decide, hey, is Right at Home a good fit for us? If everybody's in agreement and we'll communicate that on that following Monday call, really the expectation for a brand new territory is that you are going to sign the franchise agreement and pay the franchise fee that week after Discovery Day, which is the length of time that we hold your territory for you. And I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. So right before we have you start connecting with owners, we will actually temporarily take that territory off the market. We don't keep it off the market indefinitely. We keep it off the market for a short period of time. That way you can pick and choose whoever you want to talk to. You can call neighboring owners without having to fear, oh my gosh, somebody might swoop in and purchase the territory. That has happened before. That's not fair to you. So the way that we avoid that is we temporarily take it off the market. That way you can complete the rest of your due diligence process, and we hold it until that week after Discovery Day.
Okay, perfect. We failed to mention that part, Jessica, so thank you for bringing that up. And then I do want to make sure that I answer this question. Somebody typed this question probably about 15, 20 minutes ago. How much time goes by before I know if I can become an owner? So Chuck, how long does the process take from that initial phone call to discovery day? Generally, how long does that take?
35 to 45 days.
Okay. And I know some people that have flown through that process in a little over 3 weeks. I have some people that, they do take, the full month and a half. That's completely fine. Chuck and Jessica are going to keep you on track. If you need a few extra days between steps, that's certainly fine. We're going to kind of go work together on the pace. But generally 30 to 45 days is that process. But then as soon as you are approved, as soon as you attend a discovery day on a Friday, you're going to know the following Monday if you're approved or not. And then potentially you could be a franchise owner within a week. Jessica did say the expectation is you sign the franchise agreement and pay the franchise fee within a week of approval. Sometimes we're okay if it goes a little bit longer than that, if there are some delays with financing, which is why Chuck said you start that process much near the beginning of the process. You can kind of get the wheels in motion so that in the event that you are approved, that you can obtain that financing relatively quickly. Okay. Anything else to add, you guys?
I will. We send you a lot of really good information between calls, emails, videos, and we love when candidates are super engaged in attending events like this. I always try to reach out to my people the day of, like, hey, if you want to register, if you have time today for this event, and we can tell the people who are really engaged. And that really does make a lot of difference because we want people who are going to really be engaged in the system, who are going to want to be involved, because we see, just how successful you can be by, having that level of engagement. So that is definitely something that, we pay attention to. And so we appreciate everybody who does join calls like this. And it is super engaged in our process.
Yes. And one thing that you did mention regarding the territory, another thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is a question that just came in, will you provide me with demographics of my territory so I can look at it before committing? And the answer is absolutely yes. So you'll work with Chuck and Jessica on the specific territory of interest, and they're going to share some general demographic information that you can review and feel comfortable with that territory before committing to a purchase. Of course, you're going to want to do your own research on the territory. Any additional research outside of the information that Chuck and Jessica can provide, there's a wealth of information online if you want to do some more research on the territory that is of interest to you. Okay.
One thing I'll simply add real quick, because I know we're up against it. Hey, if anyone out there is looking at purchasing existing territory, the steps after discovery day, after approval, are a little bit different. So if that happens to be you, reach out to Jessica and myself directly, and we'll clear up any additional questions you might have. What happens after discovery day if you're looking to buy an existing right at home? Okay.
Perfect. You guys, 30 minutes flew by. I could talk about this for much longer, but I appreciate the two of you taking the time to visit with me today about this. I know we've got quite a few attendees that are listening. Hopefully they enjoyed it as well and found it informative. And for those of you that are listening on a recorded basis, thank you for listening as well. Like I said, we do these every couple of weeks, and you should get a calendar invite from Chuck or Jessica. We would love to have you join a future Tuesday talk as well. Okay. Thanks again, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a great day.